Okay, Ross, you there? All right. I'm not going to record it. I'm going to let you two record it. If the playback comes out of sync, I will make a recording of this video of this lesson. Okay? So anyway, you should have the PDFs. Yes, no, maybe, perhaps, by chance. Uh, all right. What we're going to do today is, again, stick control as always. And what we're going to do is take the grid. We all know what the grid is. If I had a line of 16ths, I would go 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Now the grid, if I put an accent on the first note, on 1, is 1 E and the. So now the grid would be, I would shift the accent to the next downbeat of, instead of 2, it would be on the E of 2. 1 E and 2 E and and then the next one will be on the and of 3, 1 E and and the next accent would be on the da of 4, 1 E and da. So what you want to get used to, if you're counting 16th notes, you might want to clap your hands or tap the sticks. 1:10. What time do you have, Ross? Well, it's actually 1:09. If you're going to do the grid, you want to clap your hands. You want to count 16ths. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Then you want to clap the accents while you count. So you have 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and the, 1 E and the, 2 E and the, 3 E and the, 4 E and the. So that's moving the accent or shifting the accent over 1. I call it the grid, most people do, but the true definition is to permutate the accent. So I'm moving the accent over 1. Now I took this and made a whole different thing of linear exercises utilizing the stick control book. Now, the first line of stick control book, you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So now, we're going to take the first line, instead of counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, we're going to consolidate the line and make it one measure in 16ths, like 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Now, I come up with this, I follow the sticking, and the first part of the grid is on the count of 1, or the downbeat. So every time I see a right, I'm going to use, on the downbeat, I'm going to use a bass drum. Every time I see a left, I'm going to hit the hi-hat. So if I'm doing 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, which is linear, it's a straight line of 16th notes. But now, I'm on the first line, so I'm saying, okay, I want to hit the first note of the grid, and that's a right, so that's going to be the bass drum. So you're going to get this: 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Okay, now I'm going to move the accent, or I'm going to interpret part of the grid now to the E. If you look at, you're still on line 1. On the E now, the bass drum is not there. It's the hi-hat. It's a left. So we're going to have 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 4 E and the. Now I'm using the hi-hat because my double beaters or double bass drums are not set up. So I like that additional voice. So I have 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4. You got it? You there, Ross? Okay, now we go to the third part of the grid, which now I'm moving the accent to the and. So I'm still on line 1. So if I look at the ands, it's all rights. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Do it again. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Do we understand that so far? Because I'm going to the duh. And if you look at line 1 in 16th notes, on the duh, it's going to be a left. So we're going to use the hi-hat. Okay, so line number, I guess, is 4, A, B, C, D, where the hi-hat's on the duh. 1 E and, watch, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Do you understand it, Ross? Ross, rather. So I practiced line 1 for a while. It's 1 E and 2. I'm not going to move them around the set. I'm going to keep them on just the snare drum for this lesson. But I'm coming up with this in 30 seconds. It's a little bit more confusing, but before we can go to the 30 seconds, we're going to do the 16th notes. So again, the first one. 1 E and 2. Second one now, I shift the accent or the part of the grid to the E, which is a left, which will make it my left foot. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1. Do you understand it, Ross? Now we go to line 3. On the and, it's all right, so we're going to use the bass drum on the right. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. This is very basic, but you're gonna find we're gonna put them into a rock pattern or some sort of system or whatever. But for now, I'm explaining what is going on. All right, let's do now the duh. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So now the last line of this section is the total grid. First we have 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3. You get it, Ross? I need some interaction here. Hello? Okay, now we're going to go to line number 2, which is the next page on the PDF. So, again, it's presented as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Now we're going to make it one line of 16ths. We're putting the two measures together. 1 E and a, 2 E and 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So now, part of the grid on the downbeat, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the first part of the grid. It's all left. So you're going to have 1 E and the, 2 E and the, 3 E and the, 4 E and the, 1, 2, 3, 4. On line 2, what we have now is part of the grid shifts to the E. So the E now is all right. So I'm going to have 1 E and the, 2 E and the, 3 E and the, 4 E and the. All right, now we shift over to the and. Now remember, we're doing this, we're starting with the left. 1 E and the. You got it? 1 E and the, 2 E, I'm sorry, I'm on the left. 1, on line, what am I, I'm on line number 1. 1 E, I'm sorry, 1 E and the, 2. Line number 2, we shift over to the E, so we have 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and. Do you understand that, Ross? Now we go over to the and. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and. Okay, that's line number 2 rather. Line number 3 is really nice. I really enjoyed this one. Again, we go back. This is the third page, and you know the first line is second. I only have enough time to go over a few more lines. That's why I'm rushing through this. Line 3, again, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We're thinking of it as two measures, one measure as 1 E and 2 E and So now we're doing the first part of the grid, and the bass drum is going to be, it's a right, which is going to be the bass drum. 1 E and 2. Line 2, the second line, the bass drum we're going to shift to the E. So we have 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E. Now I don't want to be blasting these at 9,000 miles an hour because then it's no longer instructional. All right, we're going to go now to the next one, which now we're moving it over to the and. Now the and is the left, so you're going to have 1 E and 2 E and. Do we all understand it? Any questions at this point? We'll go to the next one. Okay? And it's on the and now. The and is a left. So we have 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and. Now we go over to the duh. It's still a left because we're doing this. So we have 1 E and duh, 2 E and duh. Now tonight I'm going to put them into this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and the 2 and the 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to move it around the drum set. I'm working on the 30 seconds for the PDFs. I just want to do this really slow. I'm going to do one more line. Line number 5. It's the paradiddle. It's presented again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And you're going to need to really focus now on this particular one because it gets a little bit confusing. What we're going to do now, instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it's 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and Now we're going to play the first part of the grid with this one. So 1 E and the downbeat is a right, so it's going to be 1 E and On 2, the downbeat is a left. 2 E and then 3 E, 4 E and 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm playing them slow. I'm not going to play them up tempo, so you understand where this is coming from. And you could be as creative. You can mix all of them up with any sticking patterns that you want. Now we're going to go to the E. All right, the paradiddle sticking. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and again. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 3 E and again, real slow. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and We got it? Now we go to the and. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and I'm not getting any response here. I need some response. I am going to make a video. I want to see how this comes back on YouTube. If it's out of sync, I'm going to keep it private and I'm going to make a video of today's lesson. What is this? Are there any questions? And get into the chat, everybody. This is not easy for me. This is a hard lesson. I'm trying to do the best I can. Nobody is responding. I don't know who's, it says here 4 or 5 people are watching, and it's just you in the chat, Ross. Who are the other people? Come on into the chat and say hello. Now, we're not doing this up-tempo yet. I just want to make a presentation today. We will pick up the tempo with the metronome a little bit tonight, and we will play it in between time. Again, I'm going to ask any questions. My clock says 1:26. What is the time that you gentlemen or ladies have wherever you are? This is Eastern Standard Time. Eastern Time, whatever you want to say. What time does everybody have? I have 1:27 now. I have 3 minutes to complete what I want. My lesson tonight is going to be exactly 1 hour because I contacted YouTube. And I also contacted them about the playbacks being out of sync. If I don't get any questions, I'm closing down. Oh, my goodness. Again, any questions? Everyone understands what I've done. We're taking the sticking patterns from Stick Control book. Instead of interpreting the Stick Control book as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, we're consolidating the measures. We're making the first line one measure of 16th notes. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. This is for the latecomers. And we're following the sticking. So every time part of the grid falls on a right, it's the bass drum. Every time it falls on the left, it's the hi-hat. If you have double bass drums or double beaters, you could use your left foot as well. Now I'm taking these extremely slow. It takes a tremendous amount of concentration. They don't sound like too much of anything right now, but you're putting them in place so you could take them to wherever you'd like. Now, I have exactly, 2 minutes. Are there any questions? No response. I don't know if you could hear me or not. Okay. Like I said, the playback on this may be out of sync. If it is out of sync, I will make an additional video and put it on YouTube of today's lesson. How's that sound, everyone? Okay, one more time. Any questions? Everybody understands what this is about? This was inspired by four-way coordination, Elliott Fine and Marvin Dahlgren, but also a linear concept. Now, like I said, we presented it now in 16th notes, and Wednesday it's going to be presented in 32nd notes. It's a little bit more confusing. So before we go to the 32nd notes, you need to do the 16th notes. Okay, gentlemen. No questions? My time is up on YouTube. So, I need to say, have a good rest of the day. I will be back tonight at 8:30 p.m. on this channel. All right. Have a good day.